Hello, friends, and welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden, and I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle, and I've seen almost nothing.
And we're here to talk about the last 2 episodes of Galavant.
Woohoo! There we go, see?
The finale.
That's the finale noise. That's my finale battle cry. I'm now only allowed to do it at the beginning of finale podcast episodes.
Finale Battle Cry is a great name for the episode. Just going to put it out there. I don't know how we can top that, Danielle.
I mean,
we haven't even been recording for a minute.
It remains to be seen. We'll see whether this podcast episode takes a left turn or two. I mean, let's be honest, it's going to.
We are made of left turns. We're those people who can't make right turns. We just make 3 lefts.
It's a Zoolander.
Yes.
Can't turn left.
Can't turn left.
It's a movie I've seen.
Somewhere, somebody is keeping a tally of all the things that you're like, aha, I've seen it.
I've seen it. Captain America
I understood
gift.
that reference.
Exactly.
But so, yes, the last 2 episodes of Galavant, it's interesting because we were just talking about how, hey, we don't have to do that thing where we talk about each individual group because for the most part, it follows a pretty linear, everyone's kind of in the same geographical area.
Kind of.
And their stories sort of happen all in one nice, neat little order.
But really what happens is that the show finally puts everyone together again, and they make, is it Isabella who points to it in the show and says, now we're finally back together? I don't remember who says it.
Something like that,
It's somewhere in my notes. And then they proceed to separate them so that they're on just like complete opposite parts of the battlefield, fighting complete opposite parts of the war. And everyone's storyline happens separately from everyone else's until the end when they all come together. So, here we are.
Well, they kind of mesh somewhere in the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
I would argue that episode 9 is like everyone kind of getting on the same page again. I like the opening because we get the original song and we get a recap of all the things that have happened.
What a good recap. What a fantastic recap.
Yeah. It really hit the perfect tone, I think, for these 2 episodes of like, hey, if you missed anything, this is what you really need to know.
Here it is, and it was also a nice sort of tee up to all of the things that are going to be relevant in the final 2 episodes. Like, I remember when there was a little flash of Tad Cooper in the Last Time On, or during the Last Time On song, I actually thought to myself, oh, so Tad Cooper is going to be relevant to the end of this show, right? Like, Tad Cooper isn't just sort of a throwaway joke from episode, whatever number it was, 6?
4 or 5 or 6. Yeah, whatever. Insert number of episode here.
Uh-huh. So good, great. I also like that the jester, who's the narrator, we all know, the jester is singing the Last Time On song in what appears to be the middle of the desert. And then when the song is over, it pans out, and he was actually just in the center of the battlefield. Everyone applauds.
It's my favorite reveal. I think, in the entire show. It's such a good reveal.
It's so good.
Like, wow, he can really sing.
He can really sing.
Way to go. Really nice.
I'll give it to him.
I love
a really
that.
good example of one of the few songs in the show that happens like in the canon of the show and everyone can hear it happening. Like, because he's a jester, he is in fact actually singing for everyone. It's hilarious.
And I love that Gareth is like, well, now that we've had the recap song, let's go.
Okay.
And so Gareth wants to go and fight.
Yep.
And as we left off at the very end of the last episode, with Madalena trying to keep her magical self in check because she doesn't want to upset Gareth. The do. And her eyes keep randomly glowing, which I also thought was very funny. Such a good choice of just like, they glow at random, like literally random times. Like she's just having a normal conversation and then her eyes will glow. It's like, wait, what?
It's very much like the secret cap is I'm always angry, right? Because they don't glow when she's particularly mad or particularly evil because she's always angry and evil. So they just kind of glow
because
now
she's
and then.
always evil.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, you make a great point. It's like, this is just who she is. This is a part of her nature. Done and done. Yeah. And the Dedu storyline feels like emotional cheating. And it wasn't until watching like a very emotional cheating.
Oh, like an actual, I see, thing. I gotcha. When you said
like an actual,
the way that my brain processed that initially was it like, I thought you were saying that it was like a way for the writers of the show to cheat and give Magdalena an emotional side. And then I actually processed what you said. It was like, oh, yep, correct.
I mean, both could be true.
But continue.
Maybe not quite in the way you interpreted them, but both could be
true. Now that I understand you.
But yeah, it feels like an interesting way to put in emotional cheating with a partner who obviously doesn't have love in their heart and doesn't like crave a thing, you know, like this is not what they're looking for. And you're able to really create this kind of like way that she's quote unquote unfaithful to him because she starts lying and she starts keeping these secrets from him and, you know, spending more time with Wormwood, even though Wormwood is obviously not interested in her like that. Like, no. I don't know. I like how they were able to introduce this, like, she's just, you know, like, yes, she loves you, but it's not as important as power.
Yes.
It's just not.
Like, yes, she loves you, and she's Magdalena. So she's always going to go after the one thing that she doesn't have, which in this case was access to dark magic. Right?
Magic and power.
Magic and power. Always. It's her through line. So ultimately, yeah, she loved Gareth the way someone like her can love someone. To bring it back to her villain song, right?
I know. Still one of the best villain songs in the whole show. I love it so much.
I did enjoy the storyline. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that aspect of it, and I enjoyed that it allowed the show to flesh out Gareth a little bit more and give us a character who is into more than just women and beer.
And it's interesting too because Gareth isn't trying to pressure her into a thing. Mm-mm. It's just literally like, you did this. I thought you did this for me, and I thought we would do this together. Mm-hmm. So, like, what the heck? You know?
His reaction is so normal. I agree. It's so normal. It's normal to initially be annoyed and say, dude, this was supposed to be my birthday present. Like, it was my birthday present. We were going to fight together. Something about you is different. And then after he has that reaction, is like, great, you know what? You stay here and I'm going to go and I'm going to fight.
Because ultimately, that's still who Gareth is, right? Like, Gareth wants to fight his own battles. He is not the kind of royal to sit on the sidelines. He is he's the Queen Calanthe. He's going to be out there fighting everybody. The Witcher, for those of you who missed it.
Wow, he would have been head over heels in love with Queen Calanthe. Head over heels. Magdalena, who?
I know.
Like, come on.
Would have been completely uninterested in like sleeping in her bed. Just literally like, just can I go on like one battle with you? Like just one, can we take over like one nation?
Right. Like
just
a
one.
single campaign even?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's happening with the two of them. And that's sort of the first moment, I suppose, where two of our sets of characters are separated. Because there goes Gareth, and here's Magdalena and Wormwood. Oh, the vacation was a weird little detail. Is it just me, or did they just invent the vacation in episode 9?
They just invented the vacation in episode 9.
Why?
I thought it was pretty funny to be like, this was your birthday present. And then we were going to also go on vacation? Like, wait,
why?
What?
Why? That's all. I just wanted to point to it and say I'm pretty sure that wasn't there before, and I don't know why it's here now. But here we are.
I think it's funny because it's Like, they're obviously not going to be getting married because we had that whole conversation a couple episodes ago. And they're obviously going to stay together because they love each other.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know what else they're going to do after they were... Like, if Wormwood hadn't shown up, I mean, I guess they would have just gone back to the palace in Valencia?
Question mark?
Or would have ruled Hortensia?
You know
what I mean?
maybe.
Like, it's kind of unclear.
It's kind of unclear. I think it's also maybe, I don't know. I'm totally just, like, pulling things out of nowhere here. But maybe it was a way for the show to introduce the idea that these two are, in fact, romantic. Right? Like, oh, we're not going, they're not going to get married. You're right, because they had that conversation an episode and a half ago. But they're going to go on vacation together. They're a couple, you know.
Maybe. You know what? Maybe. I mean, we've already established that the show is really bad at Demi and Ace and...
any of that.
It's just bad at it.
It's just bad at it. So that's happening.
Just bad at it.
Isabella is giving her side of the troops just a rousing speech, which for zero reason whatsoever works. Like, she rolled a 20.
Well, because she's able to spin it,
the
and
GM
she's
was
very
like,
charming.
what do I even do now? Fine. I guess it worked.
Look, Isabella is very good at improv. We've established this. We know this about her. We know this to be true. She is solid at, like, charming the crowd and working on the fly. Uh-huh. I love that she turns and has that little aside to the camera of, like, we are so screwed.
I liked it her parents.
Because all they have are kitchen utensils.
Pots, pans, not whisks. What if we don't use the whisks?
No knives. Zero knives.
No knives. Not in that kitchen.
Although her parents have a great time. Like, her parents, the real MVP of that side of the war, like, taking out 6 or 7 soldiers all by themselves.
Truly actually being pretty supportive, which we don't get to see very often. So I liked seeing it here. Even during her speech, they were like, she twisted it around. She turned it around again.
I loved her twists. I mean, maybe that's all it was. Like, maybe it was, like, enough to be... You know, I allow you to have freedom, but, like, you know, this is also what, like, you know, you come to a football game expecting a certain atmosphere. Yeah. Like, she's trying to create a war atmosphere for her very, very underdog people playing in this war game.
Super.
It's not just go out there and have fun. It's like, no, we're going to do our best and we're going to show them all. And it's like, oh, boy, but you have pots and pans.
Okay, so that's team number 2. And then team number 3
Yeah, I actually wrote down, this is an Isabella Stan podcast.
So good. I love Isabella.
We stan Isabella.
And team number 3 is Galavant and Richard, who, you know, are just trucking along like they always do. Richard is tagging along after Galavant. He still has Tad Cooper, which is important. And Galavant, yet again, is not even... Like, his primary reason for being here isn't even just to win the war. His primary concern is, I need to put on this helmet so that I can have a dramatic reveal and you know, announce my love for Isabella. And that's their pre-war conversation.
I had forgotten about that. You're not wrong. I literally just watched these episodes like an hour and a half ago, and I had forgotten that was their pre-war conversation. It was so weird. You know, rolling up on who you realize is your ex through miscommunication in a disguise is not the worst plan, but also not a super great one.
It's also not great when you're rolling up on your not ex, I suppose, and just prolonging the lack of communication so that the reveal is more traumatic. Like, he could have started the war on her side of the battlefield, but he is elected not to start the war on her side of the battlefield because you know what will be better? A dramatic reveal.
Well, here's the other thing, too, right?
Yeah.
Magdalena clocks him immediately. She looks at him through a spyglass and is just like, oh, it's freaking Galavant. Like, so I'm also sitting here like, obviously, the reveal must have worked. Like, somebody rolled a really good deception check or, like, a stealth roll.
No. I think that this was everyone rolled notice and Isabella failed. Because Wormwood clocks her. Gareth basically clocks him. Sorry. Wormwood clocks him. Gareth clocks him. Magdalena, as you said, clocks him. Literally everyone, except for Isabella.
Except for Isabella. I mean, look, she's short.
She's short.
She can't.
She was focused on winning a battle with kitchen utensils. She had other stuff on the mind. She rolled notice with disadvantage. You know, it happens.
What about the It's a Good Day to Die song?
Such a good song.
Such a good song, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love that song. To like contrast it with like, you know, the La Resistance song, you know, from a couple episodes ago. Like, there's something really nice about a very obvious, you know, like a bunch of people are going to die. We don't necessarily know who or on what side or you know, how it's going to go. Obviously, the odds are stacked kind of against us right now, or depending on who's singing at the time. I love that Gareth's people start it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how many of you are going to die in a war against people with kitchen utensils?
I love that the kitchen utensil part of the song is like, it's a good day to die, but if it doesn't happen today and it happens in the near future instead, maybe that would be even better, you know?
We're also fine with that.
We're also fine with that.
We accept this outcome as well. It's fine.
Now, my favorite thing about the battle song is that the chef and Gwen get a verse.
Yes. I knew you would be so happy to see them. I was dying that I couldn't spoil for you that the chef and Gwen actually come back. Because, like, where would they come, right? Like, where would we put them? And, of course, we put them right in the middle of the battlefield in their little hovel that they have together.
That's the farthest.
They grow their own food.
That's the farthest they were able to get on foot from the kingdom. I think that makes perfect sense. That was, like, miles and miles away.
But of course, it is the center of this battlefield where everyone is conjoining to fight. And they're just like, well, at least we made it to 25, which I actually wrote down because I thought it was very funny.
At least we made it to 25. At least we're going to die together. I love that they close the door and climb into their, quote, cellar, except that they've built the house onto the ground without digging a solid foundation, obviously, right? And so their cellar is like, the house is slightly on stilts, and they're just underneath the house, kind of peeking between the stilts.
Right, exactly.
During the entirety of this battle.
I love that that's like an easy way for them to hide. It's so cute. So this battle starts. Reveals happen, right? Like we have Gareth and King Richard, where Richard slaps around Gareth a little bit, which was very funny. We have
mirrored
Isabella. And Galavant with many, many slaps across the face, which I really appreciated. Although I was like, I know she has a right hook. She could have just punched him.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's fine.
Okay. They kiss.
And we have
the kiss still isn't great.
The kiss still isn't great, but like they have time to work on it, which I thought was actually kind of cute. I was like, that feels like growth for you two. Like... You know what I mean? Yeah. Allowing space in this relationship where the two of you obviously don't like get along in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
You didn't before. You won't again. Like, but important to be like, hey, you know what? We're working on it. And we have the reveal of like Wormwood looking down from the mountain and seeing that King Richard is fighting with the sword for the one king to rule them all.
The one true king.
It's such a wordy thing. The one true king to rule them all's sword.
Yes. The sword of the one true king is what I have elected to write down.
Oh, there you go. But so he is also revealed to us, the audience, that like that's the person who can kill him, right? So, like, he may not even fully acknowledge, like, King Richard, but it's like, I think he gets a little nervous at that point and, you know, calls upon the undead to be even more undead and be under his control.
Yes, the undead. Dear listeners, this is where we reveal that I gave Joy and I a challenge prior to beginning this podcast episode, and I would like us to avoid saying the Z word for the entirety of this episode. A, because I think that's funny, and B, it is in keeping with tradition. And C,
True.
the show also does it. Not once.
The show refrains from using the Z word, which is something I only kind of noticed after the fact, after you pointed it out. And I was like, oh, no, you're right.
So the undead it is, or the slightly undead, or sort of undead, whatever it is they call them, right?
The mostly undead.
Mostly undead. See, I think it's something like that. I know it's something like that.
I might stick with mostly undead.
I like mostly undead.
I know they had like a Princess Bride, not Princess Bride thing
Yes.
in one of the previous episodes, and mostly undead seems like a Princess Bride jab. So I think I'm going to try and stick with that.
Okay.
We'll see if I'm able to do it in the next 40 minutes or if the Z word slips out.
Yes. Okay, so Wormwood takes control of them. What did you love?
I loved that.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
I like, what a great twist, right? Like,
yes. I was trying, you know what? I gotta be honest. This is not the sort of show where I attempt to predict the subsequent beats of the show. It's just not that. Mm-hmm. I mostly just sit down and enjoy it because it's 20 minutes an episode, right? What are you gonna do? There's hardly any time to speculate. So I'm not going to say, like, I wouldn't have predicted this, but it was fun. It was a fun surprise. I think that it gave the appearance of the undead relevance to the narrative in a way that I appreciated.
It felt like a really good twist. Then when that happens, you imagine like, oh, okay, so now the armies are matched, right? Like you have these fighters who are fighting for love, these mostly undead who are just following Galavant because he was undead for like a second.
Yeah.
And no, dead for a second. He was actually dead.
Yes, actually dead for a second. And is motivated by love.
Yes. And you have Gareth's army at that point because Madalena is just up there waiting to do magic.
An actual army.
Yeah. But you don't have a way to bring the core group back together. Right? So you would just have King Richard fighting with Gareth.
Mm-hmm.
And you would just have, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't be able to bring those friends back together unless, and like, it wouldn't be as satisfying because it's like, what do you do at that point?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, in the narrative of the show, the writers needed a common enemy for everyone, the main cast, I suppose, to fight against. And their common enemy is now the army of the mostly undead, led by Magdalena and Wormwood, sort of. Well, Wormwood first, and then Magdalena, I guess, just does a really much better job, so he relinquishes it to her, I guess. Yes.
It's a little unclear.
Can we discuss the Doo song?
I know, it's very catchy.
It's very catchy.
I was listening to this. It was my turn this time, and I watched these episodes right before we started recording, and like right down to the wire. And in the middle of the commercial break, right after the Doo song, I got up to get some water and definitely was singing it while I was in the kitchen.
That's amazing.
Now, if you ask me to remember that song right now, I'm going to have trouble because for some reason it's just not at the tip of my tongue anymore.
No, it's fine. That happens.
Yeah.
I've heard it precisely once, so I also don't remember what it sounds like. But I'm going to listen to the soundtrack again before our wrap-up episode, so maybe I'll be able to hum it then.
It's a lot of fun. It's it's basically like an evil version of Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, right? Like, it's exactly what it is. It's like a Disney coming into your power something, but it's like for villains.
There's a lot of fun little wordplay about doing the do and then turning that into a sort of a doot that runs through the refrain. Fantastic. No notes.
Yeah. No, that whole part is perfect. Absolutely great. I love how thirsty Magdalena is to try it.
Yes. Power.
And then once she does, she's, better at it than Wormwood. Yeah. And she sort of takes over the whole fight. The undead army, the animated corpses, corner everybody in the Hortensian castle and I guess Madalena came down there to, like, you know, check in, make sure everybody's in there before they all died. But, you know, she doesn't want Gareth to die.
Yeah.
So she pops in there to be like, hey, okay, Gareth, let's go. And he's like, no, you lied to me.
Yeah.
Like, you lied to me. You said you weren't going to do magic. We were supposed to do this battle together. You've been ignoring me this whole time. Like, I'm staying with my friends.
I love that moment for him. I love that it's that. And I love that he also draws, it's everyone has a line, right? Everyone has a line that they won't cross. Everyone except for Magdalena, apparently. Everyone has a line that they won't cross. And this is Gareth's. Like, he's not above killing random people, throwing servants out the windows, chopping queen's ears off, you know? Like, he's a violent person, and he loves that about himself. But what he won't do is join the dark forces. He's like, no, being bad and being violent.
Evil.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, being bad and being violent is not the same thing as being evil, and I'm not that. And so,
it's such a weird moment.
It's weird. But I like it, I think.
Well, here's the reason I like it. Because Gareth is finally in a place that he's able to actually tell Magdalena what he wants.
Yes.
And she dismisses him pretty violently, you know, and is just like, I don't care what you want.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what breaks it for Gareth. And, like, you know what? In a weird way, good for him. You know, good for him for being like, oh, you don't. Okay, so you don't actually care about me. Like, you just want to be powerful. Like, it's not enough.
That he... In a weird way, the other reason I like this is that this is him finally getting to have choice as a character.
I know.
He doesn't get it very often, and I'm not saying that he's a powerless character, because he isn't really, right? Like, he's the one who decides... Yes, like, he actively betrayed Richard and joins Magdalena's side, right? But he just kind of, like, bops from person to person and is always just someone's sidekick. And here, he finally is just like, actually, no. This is not...
No, thank you.
This is not me.
I'm not interested. I'm not interested in this. Good luck. Good luck with that. No, and bye-bye.
I think that Magdalena was there to offer Gareth a way out, definitely. I also think that she was there to rub it in everyone else's faces and to see them all one last time before they die.
Yeah.
Equally. Like, I think those were equal reasons or motivations for her to be there.
Yeah. I mean, again, because, like, she's, if anything, she's proven to us that she is petty.
Uh-huh.
And she's just there to party. And man, is she, like, I love when she says, like, big day.
Yeah.
After she's like, I can do magic. Big day.
And I love her final goodbye to each character. Where, like, there's a tiny bit of it that's heartfelt when she thanks Gareth for his love, but the rest of it is pure petty because she thanks every person for the thing that she was able to take from them.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's perfect. No notes. No notes on Madalena in these last two episodes.
And then she gives
she
gives Gareth one more chance and everyone else 10 minutes. Gareth says no, and then she's out. Fantastic.
So good. So they have another refrain of, like, it's a good day to die, which is so very funny. Very, very funny because, of course, the side characters are like, but there's one more episode.
We know we're not going to die. Everyone's like, it's a good day to die. And they're like, but we're not going to die. They literally say, it's not Game of Thrones.
I know. That's one of my favorite lines that the mom has said in the entire show. It's not Game of Thrones.
We're not going to die.
We're not going to die. It's fine. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. So they have one more refrain. And you don't really know what's going to happen, right? But there is another episode, and you're sort of left being like, well, they can't possibly leave it there. And what happens as the last episode opens is Sid arrive. Well, okay, first we have a duet with King Richard's inner child, which I would like to talk about in a second because I thought it was really cute.
Oh, it's a fantastic duet. And I like
such a good song.
I like that the show doesn't, that episode 10 doesn't pick up right where episode 9 left off, because that's what I was expecting. I half expected, you know how during the Good Day to Die reprise, the jester makes a joke about being like about a cliffhanger. That's what it is. The jester makes a joke about a cliffhanger, and then they cut him off mid-note as he's joking about a cliffhanger. I like half expected episode 10 to be like him continuing that note.
Continuing the note. I'm going to say this. I wonder if that was on the options of how to start episode 10 and they eventually scrapped it, because that 100% sounds like the kind of joke this show would make.
I know, doesn't it?
1,000%. But yeah, starting with Richard's duet with his inner child, who, by the way, I just love those two actors. I love young Gareth.
Yes.
I love young Richard so much. They're both adorable.
They're both adorable. Their voices work together so incredibly well. It's a great little duet. It's a great little duet. Yeah. Wait, were we going to talk about that now, or do you want to talk about Sid first?
Well, now we're talking about it. Now we're talking. We've done it. We're already in there. We're already in it. Okay, so Hutmanson, I think is his name. The guy who plays King Richard. But he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good at just talking to this younger self and being like, yeah, none of that happens. Nope.
Such a good duet. Nope. I honestly, Joy, I'm going to listen to the whole soundtrack again. I am. But just from my memory alone, I think this one makes my top 5.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
The duet with the inner child?
I think this one might make my top 5.
I mean, I would believe that. It's a really good song.
Especially
it's genuinely good.
If I'm allowed to group together some of the other duets. If I can count both of the Chef and Gwen's duets as one thing, then this one very easily makes top 5. But this is more of a wrap.
You know what? I would allow that. I would allow category of song, right?
Yeah. Because
some of the songs, look, I love every single song in the show, but some of them are very similar in topic or in sound.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's what I mean.
So yeah, I would 100% believe that it's fine. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We can't talk about this right now because this is the wrap-up episode conversation.
I know.
We're in the penultimate episode where we have to discuss what actually happens in episode 10. So King Richard is singing to his childhood self. And yes, he's so good. The child is basically asking all of those what-if questions that kids often ask, will I ever go on an adventure? And he's like, sort of. With my very best friends. And he's like, it's not really going to be like that, you know?
Really. Let's go.
There's definitely...
Do I run my kingdom and everyone loves me? No.
And he's just crushing his own childhood dreams. It is a pretty good reveal that this is just his internal dialogue. And it's just him.
I thought that was such a good reveal. I mean, it's not as good as the jester finishing his song and being on the war, in the middle of the war games.
Uh-huh.
But him melting into his real self, and then everyone kind of staring at him, and it's singing a duet with my inner child. Leave me alone. And they're like, really now? And he's like, yeah, we only have 2 minutes to live.
We're gonna die.
We're gonna die.
Now, is this where I insert the tiny rant that there was always going to be? Which is that while the child is dreaming about his future, he specifically mentions getting married to a woman and enjoying touching his wife's boobs.
Yes. Okay, I allow it because earlier in the episode before this,
yes,
Richard is the type of person to laugh when someone simply says boob.
Yeah, but that wasn't what this was. This was a kid who with desires. And then for some reason, grown-up Richard just doesn't have them until someone is interested in him.
Is this the cake problem?
This is a problem. I'm pointing to the problem. It is so annoying.
Look,
this is so annoying.
When I would like to remind you, way back in episode 1, when King Richard kidnaps Magdalena.
Yes.
One of the first things he says to her is, we're going to get married, and then we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. That is the Richard who is the child.
Yeah.
That is a Richard who is, I mean, to be fair, he did also say, am I going to marry the woman that I love?
Yeah.
And touch her boobs.
And touch her boobs. It's very important.
Like, look, at least they added in the part about woman that he loves. I don't think you're going to get it all for this young boy.
I'm not going to get it all, but it is still annoying. And again, like, yes, this is 1000% the show just not, or the writers or whomever, just not putting a second of thought into this. And, you know, putting in a gag that would be funny, which is a little kid talking about boobs, right? Like, who's not going to laugh? I found it annoying because it felt very much like the sort of thing where it's like, oh, this person is only ace because they don't really know what they're missing out on. And then, like, the instant they find out, it's like, oh, actually, that's, you know what I'm saying?
I know. No, I do.
Can I tell you?
I was worried that King Richard, I was worried that the adult King Richard was going to say something like, it took a lot longer than you thought, or something. Mm-hmm. What does he even say? I don't remember.
In response to touching boobs. I don't remember, actually.
I actually don't remember.
Well, you know what? We can reflect on this further during our wrap-up episode.
I'm sure we will. Listen, we're going to have to talk about it again because it's the writers botched this so bad. And I don't even know if it's that they botch it or if they just did not think about what they were doing.
I think so.
It's probably a little of both.
And I think because we've been having these conversations, I'm reading into some moments more than I should be. Like the joke about sitting in his room and eating cake. And I was like, did they know? Did they know? And you were like, no. And you were like, no, Danielle, I don't think they knew.
They did not know. They didn't know. They absolutely did not know. You know why they did that joke? Like, they did that joke because it's funny for people who are not with anybody or in a recent breakup or are alone on Valentine's Day and they sit in their room and they eat cake.
Or
that's why they did that joke.
Cherry Garcia.
Or ice cream. They take out a pint and they eat it with a spoon.
Yeah.
That's why they did the joke. It's the cake all over again.
Exactly.
But so Sid shows up with quote unquote, everyone we've met in season 2
to men rally and them
to their
season.
side.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Can we discuss how some of them are marching under a rainbow flag?
Yes.
Which is so good.
Can we discuss how the music is so good that even Wormwood and Magdalena are like,
like, whoa, that's a solid beat.
Great. I love that everyone was too expensive to bring back for this one episode, so they brought all the extras from those episodes for the final episode.
They spent all of their money on bringing the singing monks back at the end of episode 10. Like,
absolutely.
That's what that was. They balanced the budget, they looked at the books, and they were like, do we get the singing monks, or do we get this cast of characters introduced in season 2? Singing monks.
They were never going to get all those people. Even look, not to say that Weird Al Yankovic shouldn't charge for his time. He definitely should. However, I don't know that Weird Al Yankovic's, like, getting him equated like the 7 or 8 stars we had, 1 per episode for the last season. No, but the thing I really like about it is I think it's Galavant says something like, and now with our extra numbers, and all my brain could think of, like, because you have all these extras. And I wrote that down and underlined it twice and put an exclamation mark.
This show is so good at that. This show is so good at breaking the fourth wall.
It's so good.
It's one of my favorite things about this show.
So now they have more people. They can fight off the mostly undead. They can, get out of Dodge, as so they say. And they have a plan. Isabella is going to go see if she can take care of Madalena. King Richard is going to go see if he can take out Wormwood.
Yep.
Galavant and Gareth are going to try and find a way around the undead.
I think it was Gareth and Galavant were literally going to charge into the center of the undead army, which is why they just end up like stuck in the city, right? So they just charge front and center. And then
see, sometimes you have to tell your heavies that this is not a thing they should do. Like, sometimes you gotta
exactly, like, what if you didn't? But and then like you said, Isabella and Richard are told to flank the army.
Right.
But in, quote, flanking the army, they basically end up running into their arch nemesis.
Yeah.
And then there's Sid.
I'm a little sad. I know. Sid, my precious boy Sid. You saved the day. I'm running around everywhere trying to find an army. It's really difficult. Anybody else? And like, of course, the people who have been trying to raise an army this whole time are like, yes, tell me about it. I also I love the joke that they got all the extras.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't get like the leader of the pirates. I love that guy. You can't find him. He's not there. You can't get Princess Jubilee. You can't get the leader of the dwarves. You can't get anything like that. And I love that. I love that joke to pieces. But the only thing I don't like about this moment is that we don't really get to see the extras and the mostly undead fight.
Yes, I was going to say the exact same thing. It's like such a tease to have the people from the Enchanted Forests like marching in under their rainbow flag with like their sick beat and then not get a battle scene under said sick beat. Like that is actually what I wanted.
Yeah, it was kind of rude. I actually wonder if on the cutting room floor somewhere is the like, come on, ladies, let's go. And like they, ran into the fray and they just got to work. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching that and being like, why is it just like Galavant and Gareth alone in an alley?
And
like
surrounded by the undead. And Sid's there also.
What happened to the army that just showed up?
Yeah.
Like, it was disappointing.
That is disappointing. I agree.
So Wormwood is up there.
Uh-huh.
Ultimately trying to like get Gareth because he's a jealous boyfriend and he'll never admit it. And King Richard shows up. It's the funniest. It's so funny. Like Richard shows up and he's obviously like botched his opener.
Yeah.
And like it's super awkward and he's like, can we start again?
Dance?
And
it's like fight or dance? Like fight. It's like, but did you want to dance? I kind of love when Richard says,
no, of course I didn't want to dance.
Did you want to dance? Because because they've made Richard such a cuddly character in season 2, the actor so genuinely asks whether he would like to dance. It's like one of my favorite moments.
It's an absolute genuine question.
Like, oh, did you want to dance? It's like, no, man.
No, of course I didn't. Didn't want to. And then he's like, can we start over? And then it's the return of the well. And it was so good.
Well.
Oh, it was so good. It was perfect. I love that for Richard. And so like, they're fighting, not fighting. They're mostly talking. Wormwood gives it away that he's got the sword of the one true king.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, weird flex, but okay.
Yeah.
Why would you tell him that? Uh-huh. He obviously doesn't know. Like, anyway. And in the scuffle,
yep.
King Richard takes out Tag Cooper, trying to activate his dragon, I guess. And
I mean, it's the only thing he has left, because Wormwood has enchanted his sword to fly out of his hands and get stuck in a stone, right? And so now Richard is disarmed and is like, who do I have? Tag Cooper!
And Wormwood, of course, knocks Tag Cooper out of his hand.
Swats him!
For a brief moment, you think, like, oh my god, Tag Cooper died.
He just swats him into the dirt. He won't open his eyes.
I know. He won't open his eyes. He did, like, flinch a little bit, though, when Richard initially picked him up. And I was like, look, that lizard is doing his best. He doesn't want to be held. He just wants to sleep. It's the middle of the day. He's probably hot. Just let him lay on the sand. He's fine. But, like, Richard gets very upset, as you would, and goes after Wormwood and mostly kills him. Wormwood gets to have a little pop back up at the end.
Fantastic.
And then goes right back down. But we'll get to that.
Well, not only does Richard kill him, he also breaks Wormwood's wand in half, which was, I mean, ultimately what won them the battle. Because once the wand is broken in half, the undead army is no longer targeting all of the good guys, right? Now they're just...
I was really hoping Galavant could just, like, take them over again.
I wasn't hoping for that, but that's because I don't... You know why. I don't care whether Galavant is actually a good hero, because I don't really think he's a good hero. So I wasn't expecting him to do anything particularly heroic in this final episode. And he didn't.
And he didn't. He didn't. He's still basically just riding the coattails of his name.
Yes. He just kind of shows up, like, whips off his helmet, kisses Isabella, and then gets trapped in a deadly maze, surrounded by the undead, until Richard saves him from the undead. Like, that's what Galavant does during this battle.
Although I do really like that they cheer Richard on, too, from the sidelines. That was really sweet. So the tides turn. Isabella, once the wand is broken, it seems like Madalena doesn't have a lot of her power anymore either.
Oh, we didn't talk about their fight. Their fight was great.
Yeah.
So
Isabella and Madalena had a really good
fight
with, like, weapons and, like, like disarming each other and grabbing more weapons, like a almost like one of those I mean, not a they do it in kung fu movies too, but I'm sure there's a name for this trope where it's just like, you're in a dungeon, you're surrounded by weapons, fight.
Your weapon of choice gets broken in half, doesn't matter. There's a rack of axes, right?
Yeah.
They both have like these killer braids. I think that I noticed the braids pretty early on because it's like they have killer braids and Bobby has one too, right at the end. I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, man. I desperately want all of them to meet for tea.
And braid each other's
hair.
Talk
things out. And braid each other's hair. Braid each other's hair and talk about boys. Just do it.
Do it.
Anyway, so they have a great fight. I especially love that the first weapon that Madalena wants is the one that Isabella grabs.
That's my curvy thing.
Yeah. And then when King Richard wins, Madalena is so shocked that she's distracted enough, and Isabella gets off her good right hook and knocks out one of her teeth.
The right hook she should have given Galavant earlier. But anyway, she saved it for Magdalena. That's my reaction too.
You could have just punched him. Anyway, so we also have...
Well,
we have to have, like...
That's the thing. I feel like that's the end of the battle. And then from then until the end of the episode, it's like 12 minutes. Not 12, because it's only a 20-minute episode, but it felt like 12.
7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah, 7 or 8 minutes.
They pack a lot in, though.
Of just, like, tying up all of the loose ends and giving every character their, quote, happily ever after. Right?
Yeah.
What do we do? Yeah. Do we tackle these one by one?
Well, we were already talking about Madalena, so Gareth, tries to tell Madalena, like, we can just, like, let's just go.
Oh, I love that for him. He's like, one more chance. Yeah. The battle is over. What if we just left this all behind?
I love that.
Yeah.
I would have loved that had she said yes, but, in a rare moment of clarity, she's just like, but this is what I want. I've tasted power, and that's just it.
See, I don't know that that's rare for her. That feels true to her. It feels like that's what she's done for this entire show. Just like abandon whichever man that she was with in order for something that will give her more power.
It feels weird for her to abandon her seat of a throne.
But that for more power, like what's more powerful than a knight? A king. What's more powerful than this king? That king. What's more powerful than being queen? Being a dark queen, Being
a dark queen. wearing a dark, evil queen necklace. But yeah, that's actually the cliffhanger of, like, just in case they wanted to give them a season 3. It's like she goes off to this really creepy castle to, I guess, learn more magic or something. I did like her smoke bomb, like, exit of just like, Yeah. I thought it was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny.
I mean, I gotta give props to King Richard for being like, here, hold my dragon. And then he races off to go find Roberta to not go on to Spinster Island with a cat and some chocolate.
I like that it's I don't hate it. It was the classic rom-com run through the airport trope. Right? Like, They literally set up the dock as an airport. They're all lining up. They're getting on the boat. Richard's, like, galloping over. He gets a ticket. He parks in a red zone. He runs. When he arrives, his hair is wet. We don't even know why it's wet. It wasn't raining. It doesn't matter. He's here for Bobby.
I wonder if that's a cutscene. I wonder if he ran through a random rain cloud and they just couldn't use it, but his hair was already wet.
I like it better with no explanation. I like it better that he shows up and he's wet. And it's like, why? We don't know.
You're not wrong. It is very funny. It's very funny.
And then
I had no idea I was going that fast, officer. But yeah, and then they kiss a little too much in front of a bunch of spinsters, which of course gets their dander up. Yep. And they're like, even Roberta's like, we should go. Although there was a part of me that was like, I wanted her to say, I'm keeping the cat.
Oh,
really badly.
The cats were cute. You can be a cat and be married to a king, right?
Just saying. The one king to rule them all.
So that's their storyline. In the final scene of the show, he's wearing his king crown. So they're implying that he is again King Richard. And then that just leaves us with Galavant and Isabella. And they're happily ever after. Which
do you have opinions?
I mean, they're no different than the opinions previously stated, which is they end up happily ever after in the cottage by the sea.
Yeah.
Cool.
With Galavant writing poetry.
And 7 children, no 3 children. It's kind of funny. I do think it's kind of funny. There's 2 things that I enjoyed about this. First of all, that the way their happily ever after song is framed is like, we've been adventuring for so long. We've been fighting and we're tired, right? We're done with dragons. We're done with the undead. We're done with like dark magic. We're done. We just want to settle down. But in my head, I was like, settle down. They just want to settle. And that's ultimately where they end up, right? Galavant gets on one knee.
You may not be wrong.
He proposes to Isabella. He takes like some rings off his chainmail because he wasn't ready for this moment, even though he has literally been building to this for the entirety of this season. He's not ready for this moment.
It's been his only personality trait is finding Isabella.
Yes.
And like being with her. That's been his entire character. But he was not
prepared.
He was not prepared to propose marriage.
Classic Galavant. And my second favorite thing about this is that in proposing and then, accepting said proposal, they each find out the other person's full name.
Yes.
Because Isabella's name is so long that Galavant doesn't remember it, and Sid has to remind him of the Elisabetta bit of her name. And Isabella finds out that Galavant is not, in fact, Galavant's first name. It's Gary. But it doesn't matter because they're in love, I guess.
Gary Galavant. And they get married.
And they live in the cottage by the sea. Wormwood's assistant planned their wedding. I kind of love that.
I like that, too. I like that we get to see Vincenzo and Gwen.
Yes!
Just fixing up their house.
They get another verse. I mean, it's the finale song, right? So there's a finale song, and it's just everyone's
I do like that Gareth has a moment of like, I'm going to go see if I can try and save Madalena from herself, which I thought was really sweet.
And he brings Sid.
Who now has a full suit of armor.
He's been waiting to break this in. Magdalena's visiting the Dark Evil Lord. It's good. I like the ending of the show.
I thought it was cute. I liked that it was like, well, what if we get another surprise reprise? I guess we'll have stuff to show you. right? And I like that that's where they went with it, because it's also makes for a pretty funny fourth wall break. Yeah, if we do get another season, you know, we've got some ideas, but you know, if we don't, that's okay.
If we don't, then you know, everyone got everyone got an ending, right?
Yeah.
Gareth was always going to find another adventure, and Sid was always going to find another hero, and Magdalena was always going to look for more power. Galavant and Isabella are done. They've settled. I like the Tad Cooper ending.
I like the Tad Cooper ending also. I like it very, very much. I like that we don't get to see him, but P.S. spoilers, it's a dragon.
Yes.
Tad Cooper was a dragon the whole time. Bobby comes into the room and says, it's time to feed Tad, and you know he only eats when you feed him. She's like, oh, he's such a fussy little boy. And we see King Richard carrying out a goat, a sheep.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. I think it's a sheep. They're very like Jurassic Park style.
Yeah, and like basically calling to Tad Cooper like he's a cat. And then we sort of hear a roar off screen. There's fire.
Yeah.
Or like the threat of fire.
Like you can see the light of a fire on Richard's face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're looking at Richard's face. You're not looking at Tad Cooper. Because you don't get to see Tad Cooper.
You don't get to see Tad Cooper.
And it's just like,
I love that because it's like, it's also a very cheap effect and so easy to be like, he has a dragon.
And so it's this big bright light and Richard just saying, I have a dragon. And it was so good. I kind of like, I'm not disappointed that we didn't get to see Tad Cooper, but I would have thought it was funny if we did see him, because then that would have been, you know, also them blowing their budget.
Yeah.
On like a finale moment.
On this dragon effect right at the end of the show. Yeah.
But no, they blew it all on what's his face instead.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes.
Which is actually not like, look, I enjoyed seeing them. I thought it was very cute to end with them. I really like that they kept getting cut off during the wedding, because it was like, yep, we're getting, yep. And I'm like, you guys picked him. You picked the singing monk.
Well,
you picked these people to marry you.
Did they pick the singing monks, or is this a wedding in Valencia, and by the rules of Valencia and Isabella's parents, you must get married by the monks?
I don't know.
Because it's a religious order, right? Maybe the parents were like, oh, we want a good old whatever order wedding, and they had to have the monks there.
Oh, that's also true. Isabella's parents are back on the throne. Mm-hmm. As they should be.
As they should be.
And it says, et cetera, happily ever afters all around. We should do one more things because we are a little bit over time. Do you have a one more thing?
Jinx. That was in perfect sync for me. I don't know if it was in perfect sync for you. I have a very quick one more thing, which is just like a tiny little moment that we didn't mention.
Uh-huh.
And that was when Richard was not proving, because everyone already knew that he was the one true king, but basically like showing off for Galavant, like, oh, do you want to see a cool thing I can do? And Galavant's like, sure. And then Richard like stabs the stone, but he does it like in the stone, out of stone, in the stone, out of the stone. And every time the sword gets pulled out of the stone, there's this little sort of angelic, and it just happens over and over again.
I thought that was a beautiful moment also.
So
and I really love that Galavant is like, no way.
Whoa. Look what I can do. Whoa. Oh. So good.
I love that it doesn't matter what stone the sword is stuck in. And I also really love, to piggyback on that, I love that it gets stuck in a stone and Morwood can't pick it up. It was very like Thor's hammer. Like Thor's hammer is on a table. You try and pick it up. You can't pick it up. My thing is a Richard moment also, and I'm trying to remember the context, but like they're all saying of the like, it's a good day to die. And they're all like bemoaning the future they could be having. Uh-huh. And he says something like, and I'm ruling my kingdom with Bobby by my side. And I have a weirdly large beard.
Oh, yes. Oh, well, no, I think actually Magdalena noticed Galavant's weirdly large beard. Or that's the moment I noticed. You might be thinking of a different
Is that
moment.
what it is?
Like, I thought about you in that moment because, like, you had made fun of his beard. But when Magdalena first saw Galavant, like, with her telescope across the battlefield, she literally says, "It's Galavant with a weirdly large beard."
A large beard.
Maybe?
I mean, yes.
But I think that
there's
I don't know.
both.
There might be another moment.
There are both moments because it's like Galavant has a weirdly large beard, which I've already talked about. But Richard also talks about this like wild beard he's going to have.
But
I
think that he uses like very positive language for his beard. He has like a luscious beard or something like that. Not luscious, but yes, I know the moment you're just talking about. You're right.
But it was just very funny that it was like, there's a lot of beard talk in episode 9. We're really here for beards, I guess. Yeah. All right. I mean, yeah, sure. Proud of you.
Proud of you.
Yes.
I think Richard's long hair was an improvement. I like long hair, Richard.
Yes. Correct. I agree. Yeah, that actor always looks really good with like just some nice long hair. Because when it's short and cropped, it's like I feel like he's more suspicious somehow. When it's long, I feel like he's much more relaxed. Because it's like on Psych, he plays this very, regimented like cop figure. Because he's I don't know if you noticed, but he's the detective. Okay, so on Psych, very quickly, sorry, spoilers for people who've seen Psych, I guess, but like Psych is basically a Sherlock Holmes show, but like very funny, not the modern like dark, brooding types, much more sort of fun and fancy free, like not taking anything seriously kind of thing. And it's literally a dude who's just like, I'm psychic. And he tells the LA police, like, I'm psychic. You should hire me as a psychic consultant. And there's a detective on the force that does not believe him. And Timothy Odmanson plays him.
Oh.
And he has this very short cropped hair. And he just constantly makes this face of just like, why?
Oh, that's so interesting to like think of him as that sort of character. The one other thing, I don't think I've seen this actor in a lot of, maybe I think that this might be one of those actors who he's probably in more things than I'm aware of.
Sure.
But I was very recently in the background as I was lesson planning, rewatching Lucifer, and I noticed that he played like a one episode character in Lucifer. And he had shorter hair, and he was playing sort of an oddly religious character. And so he definitely gave off a creepier vibe in that episode. But I
don't know what it is. That actor with short hair just doesn't work.
Partly the hair, but I was like, the hair makes me believe that you have some very strange ideas about who you are and the powers you have,
And on that note...
We'll see you next time.
Next time, we're going to be doing a wrap-up episode for Galavant. Join us to talk about our top 3 whatevers. We haven't figured it out yet. We haven't mapped it out yet. It's going to be great,
though. All the top 3s and 5s. So many of them. But between now and then, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, which group of extras is your favorite? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/BachPod.
That's right. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.